The Legend of Dragoon is a cult classic JRPG on the PS1 released on December 2, 1999 in Japan, June 13, 2000 in North America, and January 19, 2001 in Europe. Written, designed, and directed by Yasuyuki Hasabe, and developed by Sony's Japan studio. This memorable turn-based RPG left a lot of things to talk about back then, and it's still a topic open for discussion. So let's take a look at 10 things you may not know about The Legend of Dragoon. Number 10. Prequel. We all know there was going to be a sequel at some point, but was cancelled when Shuhei Yoshida, the producer of the game, moved from Japan to the US. No details were ever given of this alleged sequel whatsoever. We never knew if it was going to be a direct sequel in terms of story or a whole new second game. However, what most fans have argued ever since Yoshida made this statement is that if there could ever be another game in the same universe, then it would have to be a prequel. Without giving away any spoilers, let's just say the game wraps up most things pretty good, but it left a lot of plot holes when it comes to its lore and background. Therefore, a prequel would make much more sense than a sequel. Whatever the case though, there is little hope for either of them happening. Number 9. Difference in covers. The North American release cover is widely known for having the three main characters Dart, Rose, and Shanna on it. In my opinion, this is the best cover out of the three regions where the game was released. The PAL cover offers a full body image of Dart, but now on the opposite side, and a part of a cinematic in the background with some of the other characters. This cover is pretty cool too. However, the Japanese cover is what baffled people the most, including me. I mean, just look at it! Can you even make sense out of that image in the background? And I'm pretty sure if you do, there's no way this isn't a somewhat vague cover, if not poorly designed. The logo still looks awesome in its golden colors, but that background tells us absolutely nothing about what kind of game we're going to be immersing ourselves in. Number 8. The game sold more in North America than in Japan. Surprisingly, there are some JRPGs in existence that sold more in North America or Europe than in their country of origin. The Legend of Dragoon was such a case, as it sold only 160,000 copies in Japan upon its release there. Not a bad number actually, but 8 years later, in 2007, sales went up to only 280,000. Whereas in North America the same year, sales were reported to be 823,000 copies. It will go on to sell even more on its digital release for the PlayStation Network in 2012. I don't think the Japanese cover had anything to do with the low sales in Japan, and I say low sales because that's exactly what Sony said, which led to the game's alleged success disappointing them. However, there's a much more solid theory on this, but we'll get to that later. Number 7. It wasn't really a commercial success. With the numbers previously shown, it is a fact that upon its release on Japan, North America, and Europe, the game was a commercial success, and if we take the meaning of the word commercial literally, then it is a true statement. Nevertheless, the critical reception the game had everywhere, not only in Japan, was not exactly what we could call a success. If a sequel, prequel, or whatever of this game never happened, might be because the game's reviews went from mixed to positive. Sony not only noticed the harsh criticism towards some aspects of the game, but also the lack of sales in Japan during the following years after its initial release. The Legend of Dragoon had a $16 million budget, so obviously Sony was expecting a much bigger number in their pockets. The game's a cult classic, but it is still nowadays trapped in an endless debate between gamers and critics alike, trying to decide if it's good or bad. So yeah, commercial success? Sure, okay, but critical success? No such thing ever happened. Number 6. Overpriced action figures. A lot of video game publishers always tend to use action figures to increase marketing and sales, therefore milking the game itself. The Legend of Dragoon was no exception when Sony and Blue Box released a single set of 6 figures including Dart, Rose, Shanna, Lavitz, Lloyd, and Congo. This was around the same time the game was released, each figure standing on average 6 foot. Any of these figures, still sealed of course, can go from around $40 to $70 each on eBay, Amazon, and other websites nowadays. The most expensive of the lot is the Lavitz figure, for some reason, being also the rarest, going for around $80 to $100 nowadays. Yikes! Number 5. Manga and book adaptations. The Legend of Dragoon was soon adapted into a manga of 173 pages, published by a company called Enterbrain. It was released on June 2000, the same month the game was localized to North America. It follows the adventures of the main characters of the game, but told in some sort of alternative story. Certain scenes that took place in the game are missing here, and instead some events are changed. There was also a short novel adaptation of it called The Disturbance on Celdios. That subtitle is pretty self-explanatory on what the book is about. It's a novel, plain and simple, with barely any drawings on it, most of them portraying only the characters. Well, guess where these 2 stories were released? Number 4. Dart in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Sony's take on the Super Smash Bros. Franchise was none other than PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale on the PS3 and the PS Vita, released in November 2012 in the West, but until January 2013 in Japan. Even though it sold over 1 million copies upon its release date, the critical reception was very mixed. It didn't live up to the hype and standards of many other successful fighting games. Shuhei Yoshida stated that some characters were going to be available as DLC, and one of them was precisely Dart from The Legend of Dragoon. Due to its mixed reception and lack of sales in the following years, plans for these DLCs, even though Dart already had its own design for the game, were cancelled. This is a bummer since I really like this game and I would have loved to play as Dart in it. Number 3. Rumors about a remake. Ever since Yoshida stated in an interview back then that there was a sequel in plans, all sorts of rumors have taken place over the course of time. All of them, however, disclaimed or dismissed by Sony, Yoshida, and even Yasuyuki Hasebe. Probably the most controversial of them all was the one hyped up by fans this very same year. In August 2019, Peter Dalton from Bluepoint tweeted the following reply to a fan asking about The Legend of Dragoon. Bluepoint is a developer that makes remakes and remasters, Gravity Rush and Shadow of the Colossus on the PS4 being 2 of their most well-known works. For their connection with Sony, who currently still owns the game's IP, you'd think Bluepoint would actually take on the remake or remaster of it. However, Dalton only said that perhaps it should be a project. That means absolutely nothing of course, but it kinda gave hope to the fans, and so rumors began about the possibility itself. Nonetheless, like I said at the beginning, they were just rumors, and a project on The Legend of Dragoon of any kind still doesn't exist nowadays. Number 2. Rose's hair was going to be green. If there is one truly emblematic character in The Legend of Dragoon, it has to be Rose. She not only was a rather mysterious ally that led us to believe she had a different agenda all the time, but also her beauty and dark portrayal in the game garnered many fans. So imagine how she would look with green hair. Ugh, I don't know, I can't quite picture Rose with any other hair color other than their beautiful black mane, as it perfectly represented her personality. Well, I'm glad this didn't happen, as the developers felt that every character needed to have a specific color so the players could easily identify them. This idea even gave more sense to the realistic tone they wanted in the game. It turns out they didn't want the classic anime style in the design of the characters and the world. So Rose having dark hair gave her more realism than a bright green mane, as the character designer Kenichi Iwata had originally drawn. Number 1. Japanese players said the game was too hard. Gamers worldwide have always known that a lot of games have had to be watered down in terms of difficulty upon their localizations. The true, hardest versions of these games generally tend to stay in Japan, so it's flabbergasting to know that upon its release there, The Legend of Dragoon had this sort of criticism. Japanese gamers complained about the game being too hard. Thanks to this feedback, Yoshida and Hasebe worked on the difficulty of the game and made it more balanced for its Western release. Yoshida himself felt that this new version was the complete version, or rather the definitive one. I gotta admit, when I beat this game many years ago, I did feel it was balanced, with some difficulty spikes here and there, but mainly reasonable and enjoyable. I can only imagine how this game would have been received here had it retained its brutally hard mechanics. Add that to the criticism it got everywhere in this world, and I don't even want to know the answer. So I guess I'm glad we got this balanced, definitive version. Anyway, that was my take on The Legend of Dragoon, guys. These were 10 things that you probably didn't know about it, so I hope you found this video entertaining. Of course, there's more to it than what I talked about here, so if you want to add more facts on it, feel free to write something on the comment section below. As usual, I want to thank you for watching, so don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and please share this video with your friends. See you next time!